want to start by something very important. So for those who happen to not know me, thank you very much. I see Kwanele commenting. My name is Frank Magoro, and I'm studying my honors now at Wits University in accounting. And I started a YouTube channel called President's Quarters, where basically I said one of the most fundamental things that happen is when you get into university, you always told how university is hard, it's difficult, but very few people come in and tell you the actual practical skills on how to deal with at university. And the vision of the channel is exactly that, and this is an extension of the channel where we're saying let us share practical tips and empower fellow students to become better and become more efficient in their studies. So I'm quite honored to be doing this, and do subscribe to the channel as well. So especially if you're in your junior years, first year, second year, third year as well, subscribe to the channel to get more academic content and just overall how to become an effective student. So basically that's the vision of the channel. And today I titled this particular session Win the Exam Before the Exam. And there's a beautiful story. If you follow rugby or sport, you know that we are defending world champions in rugby, right? And then the Springboks went into Japan and won the World Cup and brought it home. And there's a beautiful story closer to the end of the session where I'll share with you how they won the game, or they won the World Cup before they actually started playing the game, and how they actually conquered it. And you can use the same principle and the same skills to win your own examination. The first thing I want to start with, it is what I call the acceptance of forgiveness pledge. So before I get into it, another important thing, so to get an overall picture on your full preparation, I advise you to go onto the YouTube channel, as I've said, called President's Quarters. It's my channel. You can search my name, it will pop up. And even watch last week's session as well. I think if you watch last week's session or the latest video I posted, and also learn from these tips to get an overall picture of how to fully be an effective student and for you to effectively prepare for your exams. So watch last week's video and also get more of these tips. So let me get into it. I've been talking too much because John has bullet the gate. The first thing, I want to start with something I call the forgiveness pledge or acceptance pledge. You know how during the year, basically, you went through different situations and different difficulties. And many times you find you didn't manage to do what you needed to do. So for example, especially when we jumped from normal contact teaching and learning and went to online learning, it was a huge jump as well. So that transition, many of us, you find, didn't take it well, and we found ourselves slacking. We found ourselves didn't study when we wanted to study, or didn't study when we had to study. You find during the year you fail some certain tests and you feel like I could have done better. Or you wrote the June examination and failed badly and you felt like you had disappointment, or you're scared that you're going to fail the year. There's a lot of things we tell ourselves when things don't go our way. And that is why I want to start with the forgiveness pledge, which basically says, what you could do, you did. What you couldn't do, you didn't do. Intentionally or not, it has all passed. Make peace and accept. And I think that's very important, because as a person, the many mistakes you've committed during the year with regards to your academics, make peace with the things you couldn't do, make peace with the things that you did, and look forward. Apostle Paul teaches us that we should forget the former and focus on the prize. And the prize is not at the back, but in the front, in the same principle. We need to forgive ourselves for the things we didn't do that we're supposed to do. Make peace in your heart. Say, Mogelo, my boy, I was supposed to do this at this particular point, but didn't. Marks didn't go my way. I'm not performing very well. Forgive yourself of those different mistakes so that you're able to move forward into the future and focus on your upcoming examinations. Because the important thing, you need to learn to work on now. You can't control the past, but you can work on now and influence tomorrow, because that's the only thing you can influence. But the past, you can't do much. If we look at the video I did last week as well, I made the statement that is very important, that we need to learn in preparation for examination to study where we are productive and not necessarily where we're comfortable. Many of us find ourselves studying in our different rooms. Yes, you find you're able to do 1 or 2 questions, but I think if you work in a space where you're most productive, you are able to now do 3 to 4 questions because you're productive in a day. So check your space. You need to learn to study where you are productive and not necessarily where it's a comfort zone. because where it's a comfort zone, you get comfortable at the rate at which you work and you find it's minimal, and therefore you're not becoming effective in your preparation for examinations. But if you watch the video, the past one and current one, you get a full picture. The first tip I want to give you is you need to learn to start your day right. How many of us relate to this particular statement? Many of us, you find we don't start our day right, and that is simply because we slack in the morning, and then it affects our effectivity during going into the day. So we need to learn to start your day right. So I made a video called Your Day Starts the Day Before, and you can go into that video and learn how actually can I start my day right and start better. One of the things that we do to ourselves that affect our productivity is we tend to start our morning, and many of you find you relate to this. When you wake up in the morning, the first thing you do is to go onto your phone, right? And then before you know it, you are an hour into your bed and you're supposed to start maybe around 7 o'clock. And before you know it, it's 9 o'clock and you haven't started and you're still on your phone. So one of the key tricks of starting your day right basically is having a good morning routine. So starting with your phone is a bad habit. Why? It's because, your phone, when you're sleeping, your brain is a bit active, but it's more lower energy. So the first thing you do in the morning, if you go onto your phone, what then happens is your phone takes out certain type of light, radioactive light, right, that goes into your eyes and make your brain basically buzz a lot. So you're giving it too much energy. And the thing about the brain is you need to ease it into the day. So if you start your day with your phone by checking text, you're checking Instagram, by checking Facebook and the other social media, right, you find that you're giving your brain a lot of energy. And that is why when you want to start studying, you're lazy to start studying, purely because your brain, when you woke up, you used your phone, it became so busy and so hyped up, and by the time you go to lower energy and you want to start studying, then you become slow. So we need to learn to start our day right. In terms of revision, that is one of the key things that affects us when we have to prepare for examination. And the shortest way for you to start revising for the year, for me, it is to do questions, especially if you've been studying the whole year. Is the easiest way to see what you did not understand or see gaps. So let's say now you finish lectures, you just finish lectures. So my advice, obviously, finish off the tutorials for that particular block or this block. And the first things you need to do is to go into question papers, right? And start doing question papers without reading again the material. The problem we tend to make is after lectures are done, you want to go back to block 1, lecture 1, and go start studying from there. And before you know it, you're not prepared for your examination. And that is actually detrimental to your progress. So the first thing, the best way to revise, especially if throughout there you've been studying a lot of work, you've been studying a lot, ensure that the first thing you do for you to revise, you start with question papers. Why is that important? Is because if you start with question papers, you're already practicing exam technique, right? And then another important thing is, if you start with your question papers, is you'll be able to see the work that you know, right, and the work that you don't. So the work that you don't, you find when you do that question paper, you're not quite efficient in a particular section. That section that makes your heart beat for all the wrong reasons, not for excitement, but because every single time you see the topic, it scares you, you are able to identify it properly through doing question papers. And once you've underwent that process, the topics that you couldn't get right are the ones you need to make note of, right? And from there, those are the ones you need to go and study maybe the lecture notes again for you to strengthen your knowledge in that topic. So don't go to lecture 1, block 1, and start revising from there. Start with question papers and tutorials. They will expose any gaps that you have and ensure the topics that you find difficult when you're doing those question papers, you make a note of it. And then after you've marked and you've done maybe a couple of question papers, 2, 3, 4 question papers, and the problems are common, you need to make sure that you go and study those particular topics a week in. Because as it stands now, I can promise you there are certain things that you know. It's not like you know absolutely nothing. There are certain things that you know. And ensure the things that you know you are able to identify and maximize on them. And the things that you don't know, those are the ones you go back to revise. And why is it important again to do question papers? Reality, unfortunately, is the topics that as students we find difficult to do, they're quite common, right? So the topic you struggle with, there are certain topics you find your friends struggle with, or overall the whole class finds difficult to understand. And in the final exam, I can promise you those particular questions are still coming. And lecturers don't necessarily bring it to want to fail us, but they bring them into the final exam to force us to study them. So my advice, again, the topics that you're struggling with, they're the ones you need to go back and study. And the ones that you're strong in, obviously, you do question papers, you excel in them. In this particular period, it's quite a stressful period as well. So it is important for you to have an energizer, what I call an energizer, to avoid burning out. So join a gym in the morning, maybe have a morning walk or a morning run, or join a yoga team. Just join something that makes you forget that even you're a student or you're preparing for exams, things that will help manage your stress. Because what happens is we work so hard, especially when you work under stress, and then what then happens from there is you burn out. And once you've burnt out, you're ineffective. Imagine when you go to an exam and you're actually burnt out. It is actually detrimental because you won't be able to focus and apply yourself. Right? And don't panic. God's got you. Another key tip is faith does not work in isolation. And if you read the book of Luke that speaks on faith, basically is faith never works in isolation. Faith alone, the word of God teaches us that for faith alone, or faith without works is dead. And that's practically it. You know what faith does is faith allows you to see victory before you even get into the war. The Bible teaches us in so many ways that we need to have faith when we go into challenges, so that it helps you to see the end process and be hopeful and not be weary, and for you to have strength to go forward. So faith, it is important in this process. The marks that you want, claim them by faith. But the most important thing that it goes with faith that the Bible teaches us about is you need to work. It says faith without deeds is dead. So meaning you need to work, have faith, and complete the circle, and then you reach your success. So praying alone in itself, again, it will not help you much, but you need to put in the work for you to be successful in your exams. What faith does is claims your victory before the war or the exam, and works, the actions, the studying solidifies the process. At this particular point, you find a lot of us even don't have the pre-test of marks. And if you look through social media, you find different people that may have done your course now are professionals. And I love the fact that some of them even post their air marks before the final examination. I saw one, she had 37%, 38, 41, and I think she was passing 152, right? And those are the marks that person had going to the examination. And the important thing I want you to learn, especially if you don't have the best of marks at this particular point, don't panic. God's got you. God has got you. Nothing is new under the sun. The book of Ecclesiastes teaches us that nothing is new under the sun. So the difficult situation or marks that you have, someone has went through that process. So do not think that it's you alone. Someone has done it before. And because someone has done it, it is proof that you can do it too. So never lose faith. Put in the work. You're going to reach your success mark. Another key thing that the Bible even teaches us is when Jesus Christ was done doing what he needed to do during the day, it teaches us about how he had to rest. So in your studying, there is also something that went in social media. An old man who kept on saying, rest bafuit, rest bafuit. And that's exactly another key thing is in your preparation for examination, you need to learn to rest. Especially if you woke up Monday, you worked hard. Tuesday, you worked hard. Wednesday you worked hard. You find on a Thursday you feel a bit tired and burnt out. And you need to rest. Because if you continue working too hard, it's going to strain your body, strain your mind, and you're not able to do your best. So ensure rest bafit. Rest time. It's an important thing to do for you to be successful in your examination. Right? And it is not a joke. You need to refresh, right? And you need to ensure you're always at your best. If you feel like over the weekend you want to go to the mall, as long as you know you've worked during the week, ensure go to that mall, have fun, go better like a man. Don't always be in the same space and always studying because you're going to crash. So it's important for you to rest as well. Here's one of the things I love is your faith builds your conscience.